Support for this episode comes from Modern Football Technology. Modern Football Technology provides real-time opponent tendencies and self-scout while eliminating manual data entry into Huddle, DV Sport, and Exos. If you're tired of tools that are time-consuming to learn and perform inconsistently at best, then we recommend Modern Football for a fresh perspective. Schedule a demo today at teammofo.com to see a battle-tested tool that's proven to perform and deliver value. Mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code CC10 to receive 10% off your first year. And listen to our recent episode featuring Folsom High School defensive coordinator Jordan Ersick to learn more about how the 2023 California State Champion uses modern football to dominate their opponents.
This is Todd Drury, defense coordinator at Western Illinois.
This is Kyle Segler, offensive line coach at the University of Louisiana-Monroe, and you listen to the Coach and Coordinator Podcast. Gold standard, baby.
You got to keep guys alert during those meetings, so we can't get up there and lecture on a whiteboard for an hour. And so I would say keep those meetings positive, keep those meetings energetic. Obviously, you want to be demanding, but at the same time, we got to make sure that we are capturing their minds and really helping them stay engaged.
Yesterday, we focused on the physical ways we can keep the energy and enthusiasm going as we hit the midpoint of camp. And today, we shift to maintaining mental engagement of our players. We are joined by Todd Drury, defensive coordinator at Western Illinois, and Kyle Segler, offensive line coach at Louisiana-Monroe. In getting to know both of these coaches, I've learned how much they both value their role as teachers of the game and being sure their players are connecting both the mental and physical sides of the game. There will be a point, as mentioned by Coach Drury in this episode, where our guys have been through the install and need more engagement than just repping the scheme and technique against a base front or a base offense. They need to be able to apply what they have learned to a variety of situations like they will have to in the games. Likewise, Coach Segler works to have the scheme and technique developing simultaneously so they're able to play fast on game day. Hitting a mental lull in camp is an obstacle to progress, so today both of these coaches discuss how they work to keep their players mentally sharp and progressing as they work through camp. What you see on tape is a direct reflection of what you teach and how you teach. Video is important, but if you don't teach well, you're not going to like what you see on your video. First Down Playbook has been helping coaches teach better for 13 years. It allows you to present installs, playbooks, and practice cards in half the time with NFL quality. Coaching tools like video pairing, a player app, practice schedules, and wristband sheets have made First Down Playbook a program management system with everything in one place. If you're in a position of leadership with your football program, receive a free 1-week look at First Down Playbook. Call them at 512-814-6158 or visit them on their website or social media. Mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code COACH24 to receive a $100 discount off the normal $700 First Down Playbook team membership price. Links and the phone number are in the show notes. First up is defensive coordinator at Western Illinois, Todd Drury. He talks about the ways in which he keeps meetings mentally engaging, as well as how he works to keep their minds sharp by watching situations and scenarios from other games like the NFL preseason or from their own film from past years. They then work to apply that on the field.
Once you get to the middle of camp, you have that excitement's wore off. Everybody's had a little bit of fatigue. They've been running around hitting each other and doing those things. I think the thing to really try to do, mentally and physically, is just keep them fresh. And with that, what I like to do is physically is keep things in front of them in terms of situations. And so if we can pull a situation from a NFL preseason game, or we can pull a situation from a game last year or from a different college football game or high school game, we can pull a situation out, and you got to keep the game in front of them. You got to keep, we're not just practicing for practice sake, we're practicing for a purpose. And so if you can keep these fresh situations in front of them and get them energized about winning a situation or understanding how to play a situation, And I think that'll help your practices move along instead of just, hey, we're playing base downs again versus our offense. We're playing third and long again today against our offense. But if we can keep these situational football, if we can keep that rolling, then you can keep them engaged, and now you're playing with a purpose. And so I think physically that's one way to do it. Mentally, I think it's really the job of the coaches to, in the meeting times when you're meeting with your players, obviously out on the field, you're getting your work in, but in the meetings, you have to keep the energy high in your meetings, and you have to keep the guys motivated and loose and engaged, asking, making those meetings as interactive as possible, keeping those meetings loose. Everybody always loves some sugar, throwing out some candy and or popsicles or whatever, so you got to keep guys alert during those meetings. So we can't get up there and lecture on a whiteboard for an hour. And so I would say keep those meetings positive, keep those meetings energetic. Obviously you want to be demanding, but at the same time, we got to make sure that we are capturing their minds and really helping them stay engaged. And so being a great teacher and motivator and do that. And then with those meetings, some things we've done in the past is let's do an outdoor meeting. Let's go outside and talk through things. Let's do on the field meeting, just in terms of just talking and walking through things. Let's move the location, the physical location of it, and just to change the scenery and keep guys engaged. Even just taking a whiteboard out into a common area, just try and keep the guys engaged so that way they continue to process the information in different ways. So that's a tough one, to keep them rolling throughout the middle of camp. There's a couple of weeks there where you just really have to be creative. And I think the thing that gets guys going is keeping the game in front of them, keeping a situation in front of them on a daily basis, but then also, really getting creative in those meetings to keep the energy high. Some of the other things we've done in those meetings, just board drills, is getting guys up on the whiteboard, getting them teaching and coaching, competing. Give two guys a call, and they're up there, they have to both draw up the call. Whoever, executes the call at the highest level, they win, throwing out candy for that kind of thing. Just different things inside those meetings to keep those things light.
As coaches, we know that some of the biggest hurdles to our team's success can come from off the field. Your team needs support to tackle the endless list of expenses, uniforms, training equipment, travel, and more. But raising that money can feel like a full-time job. Thankfully, there's Vertical Raise. Vertical Raise is the premier online fundraising platform using innovative technology to create the easiest and most efficient system available. Raise more money in less time with a local fundraising coach who works with your team every step of the way to customize the ideal fundraiser. With options for online donations, digital discount cards, premium product sales, and even spirit shops, Vertical Raise has top-of-the-line solutions for every fundraising style. To find out more, visit verticalraise.com and we'll get you connected with an exclusive offer on your first fundraiser. We finished out with Kyle Segler, offensive line coach at Louisiana-Monroe, talking about speeding up what he calls the hamster wheel. It's an analogy he uses to keep feeding his players the mental side of the game so that their processes on the field speed up. He discusses some of the techniques he uses to keep his players thinking about the game constantly so they can improve in camp and throughout the season.
I make the joke a lot about with kind of our offensive staff and even with the fellows in the room, I use the reference of the hamster wheel a lot. And, we all have guys that early on in camp or early on in summer, whether they're a transfer or a freshman, you teach them the fundamentals and techniques, obviously, to start, hey, what's our stance going to be? What's our hand placement, hat placement, all that good stuff, all the meat and potatoes of the position, and the things that are the most vital to have success at the position. But to me, I always say it's when do you see the hamster wheel start to speed up a little bit, and I think for those guys early on in the process, you see them going through movements or you see them executing plays and they're doing it. They have an understanding, but the pace of it and the tempo of it is not yet quite full speed. It's still kind of delayed in the processing of seeing a signal, hearing a play call, whatever your delivery system is, and the execution of said assignment. And I think the faster that wheel goes, that means your brain's operating at its highest capacity. The faster that you can comprehend and compensate on the field as far as the movement patterns, those guys, obviously now you can really evaluate them as a player. And I think that's the hardest part. And I think sometimes guys get the cart before the horse on that. It's like, hey, it's so much scheme, and technique, and we're not marrying the two. And each kid is different, unfortunately. There's no cookie cutter hey, this is how I talk to every single guy in the room, and I got guys that are more tangible, physical, walk, talk, show them, like literally get your hands and put their body in position and pick their foot up and move it to here and move it to there. And then there's some guys that are just really natural players of the position, and they can just kind of, you tell them one time and they go out there and they're like, oh, like this, and it's perfect. And you're like, yep, do it like that. I think the biggest thing for me is just kind of seeing, like I said, just when that hamster wheel's still going real slow, you're never really going to truly get to see them at their best athletically, whether it's, again, what doesn't necessarily matter what position. They're still a very, to me, the expertise required to coach and play the offensive line position is so much different than other positions, because every single snap, you're in a fight for your life. It's a physical battle, so you're getting your nose bloodied every play. And also there's so much cognitive capacity required to be able to execute that assignment. So I think it's just, once you get those guys in that level where the hamster wheel is rolling at full tilt and you can see them physically moving faster, their reaction to things is faster. Their eyes, you see their eye movement and progression increase. Really, the eye progression is kind of the final, in my opinion, the final tipping point. When you see guys' eyes in the right places and they're seeing it before it happens, that's when you kind of say, okay, now we're at the point now where this is maybe this guy's peak as far as his understanding of the technique and of the assignment. And now, all right, can he physically get the job done with somebody across from him, is obviously what we're all measured at the end of the day.
Now, have you done anything as a coach as you've evolved to expedite that process, to facilitate those two things, the scheme and the technique, coming together so that you are essentially helping that hamster wheel speed up?
The best thing now is, because I say the best thing, it depends on what time of the year. Catch me on this one. You have so much more access to these guys now, and there's so much more technology, and there's so much more access to video. One of the things I love about my room right now is, like, if there is a video, and again, God bless him, he's the godfather, Jim McNally. I mean, he's put out this summer and this spring probably 10,000 videos. I mean, that dude, I don't even know if he sleeps. Again, the guy's the godfather of modern offensive line play. You've got your players sending clips from him and other, O-line technique guys or private coaches or any of that stuff. Anything I can send them, number one, to provide verification. Okay, I think now kids, I'm not an old guy. I feel sometimes that way, but like when I was a player and when I was growing up, like coach said jump and you said how high, you saluted and you did it and you did it and you did it. You didn't need you weren't required explanation of why we're doing this. I think kids now, obviously, just in operation, the way these kids are wired mentally, anytime, like if I teach a technique and I can send in the group chat, we watch it in the next position meeting of an NFL guy doing that technique or a high level college football player doing that technique. And then it's like, okay, you have instant verification. I trusted you because we have a relationship, and I know that you're knowledgeable and you're an intelligent coach, okay? But sometimes even the guys, like, it still requires that next step. Access is huge. There's so many avenues and access to that stuff. These guys are kind of inundated with a bunch of garbage in their social media world of stuff we don't necessarily want them watching or caring about. So when you're getting those sent in your group chat, with your position group, and they're communicating those things in your terms and your verbiage, hey, in play 5 of inside run yesterday, this looks just like us running this play. That's when you kind of, in my opinion, those are things you can use them throughout the year, because again, that stuff's going to continue to show up. It's going to be, these dudes are, especially at the college level, most of them are football junkies. They love watching NFL. They love watching college. And anytime you can give them another verification of like, hey man, like I promise you, it's like dealing with my wife sometimes. I promise you I'm not completely full of it. There is some validity to what I'm telling you. So anytime you have that for those guys, you kind of just, again, you just strengthen that connection with your guys, because now they see, oh wow, like this is Zach Martin doing that. He's the best guard in the National Football League. So I guess if it's good enough for him, it's probably good enough for us. And that to me is a big thing. It's just kind of completely trying to just, no matter what time of the year it is, whether you're in season, out of season, summer, spring ball, doesn't matter, just what more visual evidence, what more visual examples and things can you continue to just inundate your guys with to continue to hammer home the things you're teaching them to.
Hopefully, hearing from these coaches gave you an idea you can use right now as you work through camp, or maybe it inspired a different idea completely. That's the goal of our in-season content, to give you ideas you can use right now with the part of the season you are in. Keep tuning in all season long to this series, and if you have a great idea that can help other coaches, please do not hesitate to let me know, and we can get it shared on the podcast. For the catalog of these episodes, go to coachingcoordinator.com. Also sign up for our weekly tip sheet, where we'll give you the weekly rundown of ideas being shared on the season series. Check our show notes for related episodes and resources from these coaches as well.